All right, mic check 1 2 1 2. If anybody can hear me in the chat, push one. Let me see. Make sure my mic volume is up. All right, so people can hear me. All right, welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 284, Black Mentorship Mondays. Please hit the like button as you come in. Share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell next to the subscribe button so that you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those on the community tab page that we have. You should check out the community tab once a day or once a week to find out when we're posting new events and new topics. Albert Albert Bed Albert Bird, what's going on? Willie Little John, what's going on? Steve Technologies, what's up? Excalibur, what's going on? Earl Owens, what's going on? Yeah, so today is Black Mentorship Mondays, and has found some interesting information today. Met with somebody during a during an online conference, and he introduced me to a couple of things that he was working on the continent. I'll share that later. Reigning woman, good evening to you. Um, Interesting things that I found, but I definitely want to stick to what we're talking about today, which is if you don't subscribe, you don't eat. And what I found over time of working with the Black Brain Trust as a collective and looking at the looking at the manosphere as a whole, taking a step back and doing a bird's eye view of it, and we see a lot of people subscribed to channels that don't really provide um, information that would be nourishing to the collective of people that actually subscribe there. It's actually seen as it should be seen as an entertainment platform, but it's not, for those people who are the content creators who are putting out this content. And we've worked in the past on different hangouts and different panels, and have introduced people to different markets, emerging markets, different things that are trending that they should be following from a from a tech perspective, from a career perspective, investments as well. We've made suggestions on different sort of investment vehicles, and they have paid off dividends for people. We've had people come back. They've said it publicly. I get emails privately sent to me, messages sent to me, telling me how much they appreciate the content that we put out. But if you're not subscribed to the Black Brain Trust, you won't eat. That's as simple as that. A lot of cats are not being on their grind. They're pushing out, or they're supporting content that really doesn't have any return on investment, and then they're complaining, or they're pontificating on different platforms about building the community when they themselves are not really engaged in the intellectual um, dialogue. At least based on some of the content that I've seen posted, that's not the business. That's not what we do here. So what we want to do on Black Mentorship Mondays is actually inspire Black people to actually do better, and actually get on the panel, because we have room on the panel now. We can have 100 people on the panel. It wouldn't be a big deal. So if you want some mentorship to be handled publicly, and you don't mind other people listening in, now's the time to get on the panel. We can explore different opportunities and things of that nature that's going to allow you to actually do better. And it may help other people too, who may not be able to get on the panel right away. They may be away doing something, or they may listen to the replay and be like, oh yeah, I was thinking about the same thing. So if you want to get on the panel, you can push one in the chat and we'll get you on the panel and we can have that sort of discussion. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's the type of stuff that we're trying to push on this channel. Me myself, I do IT mentorship on this channel. Been doing it since day one, and we've gotten 99.99% positive feedback on the mentorship. So that's why we are focusing more on Black Mentorship Mondays. Andy says you should make it pay per view. The amount of information you guys pump every day is $200 per hour sessions. You know, a lot of people said that we should make it a subscription based sort of model, but we disagree with that. And here's why. If you limit the access to information that is beneficial to the rest of the people who can't afford it, how is that helping anybody, right? We wouldn't be where we are as panelists if we didn't have access to certain male mentorship or platforms. You know, if you went to a predominantly white or non-black event, yeah, they're going to charge you $2,500, $3,000, $5,500 just to get into an event. But what's the point in doing that to people who may not even be able to afford it? I mean, we laugh at people who buy Jordans and you know Louis Vuitton belts and all that stuff, but you know that's just satire, right? We just kind of tongue in cheek with it. We want this to be a repository for people to actually leverage for their next opportunity. You know, the only thing we ask is that you come back and hit the like button and let us know how it went for you. Yeah, Andy, if you do something like that, then it turns into a Jack and Jill sort of thing, and that's not our objective on here. Let's be frank. What's going on, dude? Richard Victor Dixon, what's going on? So that's our perspective on this. So if you want to get on the panel, make sure you raise your hand before you come on the panel, so we can actively acknowledge you. You can get on the panel, or else you might be sitting in the queue for quite some time. But we could chop up game about anything today in terms of what your main goal might be.
Hello.
Yo, what's going on, dude?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm chilling, man. Chilling.
All right.
How's the blockchain study group going?
I'm still doing okay. Slow. People are doing their. Of course, people are going their own directions. But my thing is, as long as people are getting what they need out of it, my thing is yes, people are going to team together to do certain projects together, but not everybody's going to be on the same project. But as long as we come together and on a commonality of learning blockchain and have the people in the same room of wanting to do something with blockchain, then I'm pretty sure something to come of it.
Okay. How long has that been going on for?
Since early July, so almost 2 full months. Yeah.
Have you gotten any feedback on it or no?
Well, um, about 5 people have been saying that they're doing well. 4 people saying that they're working on the certifications. A few people have told me, about a handful of people told me that it helped them in terms of being able to have a direction and where to go to learn about blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
Okay. You know, blockchain is so early in its development. Um, it's an ongoing process. So every week something new is going to come out, and I think the main goal is about staying abreast on any sort of trending development with blockchain. Make sure guys, people are following Twitter feeds for blockchain development. Um, looking for blockchain developers on LinkedIn, kind of following them. Things of that nature are beneficial to this whole entire strategy for keeping up with blockchain.
Hmm.
And then kind of pitching the ideas to the group as to what are the thoughts as a group, right? Kick around some ideas. It's in the closed group, so you don't have to worry about um, risky people taking sensitive information out.
Yeah.
So people just need to really be cognizant of what it is you're trying to get out of groups, including the blockchain group, because blockchain can go a variety of ways: IoT, healthcare, industrial controls, finance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So pick a lane that you want to be in, and focus on that, and don't be all over the place with your with the whole entire concept, because you'll find yourself spread too thin, and then you can't really be a subject matter expert, SME, on what you need to be talking
Right.
about.
Right. You turn to a jack of all trade, master of none.
Yeah, yeah. And plus, somebody has to take the exam. Someone's gonna have to report back.
That's a yeah, and I understand people are gonna want to take certain exams. That's understandable. I'm not tripping on that. But the exams that people tend to take as a group more than do like other groups do. One half take the class and the other half take this other class, and they share notes. So when they switch, then for the next semester, the other half take that class and the other half take the class the other half took to the semester before. So it helps. It definitely helps.
Let me read this comment real quick. Um, Christopher Clipper says, Mike V, you don't talk about logistics here. In what way do you mean logistics? Not sure what you're talking about. Let's see what D comes back with.
Hello, how's everyone doing today? Hope you're having a wonderful day today.
Yeah, we got like 30 people watching and only 17 likes, man. You know, if you're not going to participate in the chat, at least hit the like button. The logistics of export import of what exactly, Christopher Clipper? Soybeans, Raspberry Pis. What are we talking about here?
Oh, speaking of Raspberry Pis, I want whoever's in the study group, I want us to work on putting a Lightning node, Bitcoin Lightning node on a Raspberry Pi. There's a few YouTube videos about that, how to go about doing it. So I want that to happen.
Are you posting any of this on the community page, or how is this being communicated out to the group?
Well, I just thought about it, so I want to communicate it out to the group on the in the Slack, because I'm gathering up the YouTube videos on how people do it and pick the best ones, because they're using, so far I'm seeing people using a Raspberry Pi 4.
Yeah, if you're going to be a developer, you got to have a Raspberry Pi. That's the best way to, you know, cut your teeth, because you're not spending a whole lot of money on Amazon Web Services or Azure or any of these other paid cloud services. You have access to the device right in front of you. You know, you kind of plug it in and kind of spin up your dev. So, and plus the Raspberry Pi has already been proven to work. So
Yeah, and it's pretty simple from what I've been seeing. It helps support the Lightning Network. You can have a stack of them on top of each other. There's a device you can slide the Raspberry Pi 4s in when you put them in their cover. So it looks pretty good.
Christopher Clipper, we already talked about supply chain logistics months ago. We talked about that months ago. Matter of fact, we talked about that a whole year ago. Yeah, Raspberry Pis, Nooks too. Nooks are pretty cool too. So a Nook is a network-based computer from Intel. It's like a little hockey puck.
Okay.
The difference between the Raspberry Pi and the Intel Nook is basically the processor configuration. A Nook would run Windows, but a Raspberry Pi won't do that because it's geared for something different. It already runs Linux. And Python has its own Python library. So
okay.
you have anything you want to bring up to the chat that you think may be beneficial to them, or if anybody from the chat wants to get on, push 1 and we can get you on the panel.
Let me look at the chats. Yeah, like you said, since it's such a new industry, there's a lot of information coming out, a lot of new things coming out. It's not a set industry. It hasn't been here 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's a consensus protocol. It comes down to consensus. So it's pretty new. This is still pretty new. Christopher Cooper says Raspberry Pi will be checked at a country's FDA. Okay.
Raspberry Pi will what?
Will be checked at a country's FDA.
Why is that? I mean, FDA is Food and Drug Administration. Well, I mean, why would Raspberry Pi go through the FDA?
I think he's being funny here.
Oh, well, it's Christopher Clipper, so.
Richard Dixon said he's learning a lot from the taking the courses. And you do learn a lot from taking the courses and reading the articles also from crypto and blockchain sites. You get a lot from there because there's a lot of things I take from articles that they talk about, little bits and pieces of information there that is pertinent to knowing what this is and knowing what that is. It's a lot of good information out there.
Yeah, I mean, you want to keep a I use OneNote, not OneNote, Notepad plus plus. I use Google Keep too, but the purpose of that is so that when I attend certain events or I go to or I catch an article or something like that, I always take tidbits that are going to be beneficial and take those notes and make sure I bullet those into my into my Notepad plus plus or my Google Keep, because what that allows me to do is to use it as a reference point, and then I can actually look deeper, do a deeper analysis, more research into the talking points or the notes that were taken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when I read articles, it don't happen every now and then. Well, it don't happen often, but more times than few, you'll read an article and they'll go over something. They talk. The topic is about this. They'll talk about the topic. The news that came out about it. Then the writer of the article will say, this is this, and it's like, okay, that's good information right there. Let me take that sentence out because it goes into me explaining. It helps me explain concepts. Looks like a lot of people thinking about pies in the chat room. Also, we need 7 more likes. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I think the problem is that I'm saying in reference to what's going on here in the chat is that some people are still looking at this as the Black Brain Trust as some form of entertainment. Entertainment, we are not. At least I am not. So if we're talking about doing mentorship, then I expect people to get on the panel or at least post their questions in the chat, because people send me emails and I don't get to it for a few days because I got 100 other emails I still have to go through. So
yeah, when you say, go ahead.
Now would be a good time for you to actually get your comments and questions out, because you try to send me an email, that sucker may be sitting there for the next 7 days or the next 2 weeks. So don't be upset that I don't respond in time.
Yeah, it's funny you say that people may think of us as entertainment like other shows, because I was talking to Christian and we were talking about LinkedIn, and I'm getting my LinkedIn profile better, And he was saying how people that are LinkedIn are not using it as it's supposed to be. We were talking about that, and they're using it as entertainment. And people that are using using LinkedIn as it's supposed to be are telling people, this is not Facebook. Whatever you will post on Facebook, don't post it on LinkedIn. And I say it's all to say, you have to use the outlets and the platforms the way they're meant to be used. That's how you're going to get the most out of it.
Yeah, I'm not really big on LinkedIn myself. I just the sort of commentary that I want to have a discussion about is I don't think LinkedIn is the right venue for it.
Mm, yeah.
So here, I mean, because LinkedIn doesn't have a live feed like IG or something like that. It doesn't have a live feed to really go over things. So it's mostly text based, and that's kind of archaic, right? It's not really keeping up with the times per se. Whereas
They're
on,
getting better.
excuse me.
I said they're trying to get better. They are starting video and um, putting little bits of other things there. They're trying to get better. They're starting to get better.
Yeah. Well, Microsoft owns them now, so there's a lot of
Oh, okay.
pumped into them. So, but the point that I'm making here is that the audience that I want to talk to is may not even be on LinkedIn. Um, if we're talking about subscribers of the Black Brain Trust, then I know who I'm talking to, and I don't have to censor myself. Whereas on LinkedIn, if you try to have the same conversation, people are going to look at you sideways.
I see what you're saying. I don't know Microsoft on LinkedIn.
They bought LinkedIn a couple years ago.
Mm, Microsoft is getting to that business. They got Mixer and they got LinkedIn.
Well, LinkedIn is a social media site, right? Microsoft hasn't really been a part of social media in the ways that Facebook and Google have been. So uh, that was their opportunity to get in, and it's a good opportunity for them if they can figure out ways to integrate Office 365, Skype, and even Xbox Live for that matter. Uh, they can actually have a fairly robust platform and actually grow the platform without just causing too much disruption within the platform itself.
Mm,
But that's me being a an architect, software architect. So
that's interesting. How you doing, Jack Charles, Dr. Phoenix? How y'all doing? Hostile Adept checking for you. Christopher Clipper, Rainy Woman.
yeah, so let me share my screen with what I ran into today. Just give me a second. Let's see. All right, here it is, right here. Share my screen real quick. So I ran into the founder of this platform, which is um, Living Open Source Foundation. So this is focused on Linux and open source technologies in Africa. And they started this campaign, I think either last year or this year. I want to say it's last year. And I met the owner of it today, or the founder of it today. And he was telling me about Africa. um, Tech people are heavily invested into open source, heavily invested in the cloud. So there's a lot of developers in Africa that we don't even know. You can see this beautiful sister right here. She's one of the she was one of the participants in it. And this is a picture of, I think they were in Zambia on this one. This is the brother right here. Well, I should say the brother, but the founder right here. And what they're doing is they're bringing open source free software to Africa, and letting Africans actually develop, can contribute to the development of the open source applications and development that's happening in the West, but actually from an African perspective. And um, the conversation I had with him today was that they are so far ahead in terms of human capital and people power, that he said it's going to explode by 2020. So you can see right here, Pearson IT certification. They're behind this from a sponsorship perspective. University of Zambia. Zambia was the first place to really adopt this platform. The Linux Foundation is over there. So same Linux Foundation that we've been talking about in the past. Um, they have backed this whole entire agenda as well.
Hmm.
And here you see the team right here. You see this brother right here is a team leader right here, an open source enthusiast. He is a local Zambian Linux community initiator, team player, and helps promoting of open source communities. So this is what he's about. Um, Tech lead right here, son of the open source and Linux community, local Zambian Linux community co-initiator, a Lisp and AI hacker. He lives and thinks in Emacs. We have this other brother here, tech enthusiast, system admin, ITIL, CCNA, CAN network technician. And then you have this other brother here who's an advisor, um, IT network evangelist, skilled in IT systems and solutions, and carrier grade IP network design. So he focuses on the big ISP aspect. And then you have the founders that I ran into today. And here you have another brother who's involved in the ongoing um, tech portion of this. So let me see. Where's the okay, let's go to news and events. I'll drop this link in the chat as well so that you all can follow up on it on your own time. Um, so they started off in Zambia, in the university. Basically, everybody had their own laptops and focuses on OpenStack. So OpenStack is a open source cloud development platform that competes with AWS and Microsoft Azure, um, and other um, for-profit platforms like DigitalOcean and whatnot. They're also heavily invested into blockchain, so they're focusing a lot on that open source part of it. And then the next step was to go to Kenya. I think that happened in July. So another 3-day event there. Um, Zambia was before that. Malawi. So they're focusing on that. Rwanda is going to be next, as you see right here, over Rwanda open source event, May 2020. So they're getting ready for that. I would love to get down with that. I think I may make that trip over there for that. And then
Hmm.
they're going to do another Kenya event at the end of the year. So I had that conversation this morning with these guys about all of this, and I just happened to bump into it, and I was like, "Well, what's your take on cloud development on the continent of Africa?" And he said, "Funny that you asked. This is what we're doing over there right now." I was blown away by some of the stuff that he was talking about. I said,
Mm.
"Black people in America are nowhere near um, what's going on over there. They're at least 10 years ahead, at the least." So let me drop this in the chat so that you guys can see this. It's a great picture of these all these millennials all lined up, man,
Hmm.
putting in some serious work, writing code, not playing around, not screwing around on Hangouts, not pushing hashtags. They're just out there doing the work.
That's awesome.
Yep. Drop this in the chat.
Also, please hit the like button as you all come in. We really appreciate it.
He said there's questions in the chat. Um, do you see any questions in the chat?
Let me check. Yeah. One moment. Someone asks, how can get into coding?
Where's this at? Who exactly is asking this question?
Well, Trey Waters. I'm 25. How do I get into coding? What are good online coding schools? What jobs can I do with a coding certification or coding certificate?
So you always want to look local first for coding academies. Most predominantly black areas now have a coding academy available in their local neighborhood. It's a part of I think it's a part of a government initiative for the digital divide. Before the digital divide talked about people not having fast internet, right? So they provided fast internet to a lot of minority areas, low income areas. Now this new initiative is talking about coding camps inside these areas. So now they've established these coding camps, and you should be able to find one in your area if you're in a predominantly black area. It won't cost you anything. So if you want to get into coding, um, you got to take intro to computer science, CS 101. I recommend that for everybody. Take CS 101 on EDX, or you can. There's probably some YouTube videos too. I usually don't like the YouTube videos too much because they're never really all that concise. But if you go to a more structured environment um, like EDX, you'll definitely find the right sort of program. I think MIT has CS 101 posted on EDX, so you should be able to find that on there. I think that's one of the first things they posted. So what kind of jobs would you be able to find with a coding certificate? You're talking about like web development. So front end development, web development is usually like the first job. You usually get gigs. Gigs are usually 3 to 6 months, 9 months at best, and then you kind of move on unless they offer you a permanent role. Which once you master that those daily responsibilities, you kind of just move on unless they offer you something better.
Mm.
You can get money anywhere else. So let me see what else is being posted here. Oh, Richard Victor asks, I'm about to pay to get my drone pilot license. how can I incorporate that with my other interests with programming and 3D modeling? So a drone with a high power, high definition camera um, could be used for 3D modeling, depending on how you have it set up. You know, you take a drone, you fly it over a building or something like that, and you get the image of the building, and then you could download that into your 3D modeling program, and then you'll have a wireframe put into that. You should download. I think PTC is probably the company um, that you might want to look up. They do have a lot of open source stuff, but they also have um, exactly that for 3D modeling. So that's what PTC does. With the programming aspect, I don't know if you can do too much with the programming unless you um, attach some form of like Arduino um, logic board to the drone itself, and you decide to add some form of algorithm or um, lines of code to do something with that Arduino logic board. Maybe you want to, test some water that might be contaminated or something like that for a farm or something like that. There's a variety of things that you can actually do with it, but it's all up to what your what your agenda is.
Okay. Yeah, and back go tied in with the blockchain. A lot of these blockchains are coded in C. I know Richard Dixon like C Sharp, C++, Python, other coding languages. I know Cardano was coded in Haskell. Ethereum smart contracts is coded in Solidity. So there's not just one coding language. It's multiple coding languages. It's not just one. You know, getting into the IT world and finding your niche and finding the avenue that you like and not just throwing a blanket over everything and say, well, uh, I want to do everything. It's not the way to go because if you wind up wanting to do everything, you end up not doing anything. You know, as the saying go, uh, niches equals riches, something to that effect.
A jack of all trades is a master at nothing as well.
Yeah, yeah. How
Yeah,
you doing, Sonia?
yeah. What's going on, fam? Haiti here.
Here to hear what's going on, beloved. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to all the original men that's on the panel and the original woman. I'm actually very happy that you brothers brought up this discussion. As I've said before, um, mid-September, I'll be leaving for Colombia. I'll be there max 6 months before going to the continent for the first time. That being said, me being and I know you brothers don't like the term, the educated lame, but being a thinking brother that I am, and having uh, the amount of savings that I have, I'm not going to be doing a lot uh, in my spare time. I won't be working, is what I'm trying to say. That being said, it would behoove me to go to any local university that I can get. And again, I don't want to wave this I'm an American badge, but if I can take advantage of it, whatever that advantage is, no matter how small it is, then so be it. That being said, I want to have an idea, uh, a specified idea, if you will, on what I want to do. Now, me doing air conditioning, I'm pretty sure that there's something as far as the engineering behind it that whatever I know it could be useful. But man, this Raspberry Pi that the brother mentioned, man, and I've been planning to get one for a minute. In addition, I did ask you about that Chromebook. So, and I do mess with Network Plus Plus, also Eclipse, but Eclipse, the IDE for me was a little too resource intensive. So, whenever I did any type of coding, it was with Network Plus Plus. But I wanted to ask if you brothers ever dealt with Ruby on Rails.
I've dealt with Ruby. What are you curious about?
It's an overall picture, but by me asking that, it shows that I haven't done my due diligence. So I don't want to waste anybody's time asking something that I'm more than capable of researching. But again, I want to go to the continent because I plan on, as I said before, finding a West African country, whether it be Ghana or Nigeria, set up shop. Rent is like at least twice a year, usually once a year. I have a spot, and then from that point on, I can pivot. Ethiopia, Kenya, Zambia, South Africa, you name it. Anywhere I can go where I can connect to at the very least let brothers and sisters on a continent know that, hey, there are thinking black men and women, who are trying to put the abstract theory of Pan-Africanism into practical reality, the actuality behind it. So I don't want to go out there and just be a rapper, but actually go out there and do something. So, I mean, in addition to having your check backs, blah, 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 there's certain things I want to bring. I do want to bring a Raspberry Pi if I can. I'm pretty sure that me putting the check backs wouldn't be any type of issues. I do want to ask you, brother, if that Chromebook, if you didn't have any type of issues executing commands to that Raspberry Pi via the Chromebook, because if you haven't, then that's something that I have to get off GP, and I have two jump drives with a bunch of pirated, uh, technological textbooks that I'm pretty sure will, can do some type of good over there on the continent. But words can't tell you how excited or how antsy me just even think of going to the motherland and actually doing something.
So Chromebooks have specific uses. I went to Chrome because I really did not need Windows, because most of my applications were in the cloud anyway, so it didn't matter. But once you start getting into more power development on Chromebooks, then they start to lose their luster because they run out of horsepower. So with that being said, if you're going to be, if you want to use a non-Windows computer, just get yourself a Linux-based system, Linux-based laptop, and just use that for now, because Chrome, Google has not really ironed out all of the bugs. You usually get updates every 21 days, if that. And one thing gets fixed, they add a new feature, and then they break something else. So that's kind of the cyclical development of Chromebooks. So I wouldn't recommend buying one just to have it or use it for for power development. So if you're going to be programming on Raspberry Pis and stuff like that, I would probably use a Windows computer or a MacBook if you can afford one. If it's me, I would just get a Linux-based laptop and just use that, and then write my code from there. For Raspberry Pi, um, yeah, you should get one if you have some intentions on doing some stuff. But actually sit down and read the literature on Raspberry Pi's website. They post a lot of things every day. Um, there's a tutorial on their website too. It's an intro to Raspberry Pi, so you might want to follow that, and then that will give you some perspective. Ruby on Rails is used as an intermediary for APIs. So APIs are application programmable interfaces that allow two different applications to communicate with each other. That's why we're able to use Zoom with YouTube, because there's an API layer in between the two to feed the live stream into. So that's what APIs do, and that's what Ruby on Rails has been known for, from a mobile app development. So all your Android apps and some of your other platforms too in the past have used Ruby on Rails to get the mobile to the to like the app stores and stuff like that.
I know during one of my downloading binges that I did end up downloading I think it was like a Arduino or a Raspberry Pi cookbook. If you well, I think that's the name of the book, some cookbooks.
Hmm.
And they had a number of small miniature projects that you could do on either your Arduino or the Raspberry Pi. So that's something that I have to crack open, because it's and I'm looking, as a matter of fact, where actually I'm listening to you brothers in the background, and what I'm doing is I'm just looking at Airbnb prices, because when I go to the continent, I want to be there for at least a month, for to whatever country I go to.
Hmm.
And you can only party so many times, and I'm already 30. I'm already starting to feel it. That being said, so I want to connect with like-minded brothers and sisters, but you know what? I don't want to go there intellectually empty-handed. you
Yeah.
know I think we're beyond the point. Well, I don't think, I know that we're beyond the point of just old rhetoric, that white supremacy this, white supremacy that. And me being a disciple of, or at least a follower of Amos Wilson, I think that would be, I mean, um, a major transgression, just to go there and just talk, and don't have any type of plans,
It,
and that's gonna.
with your background in HVAC, a lot of things are moving to IoT, so Internet of Things. So
Sure.
I would definitely study up on IoT. There's a couple of intro to IoT videos on YouTube. There's probably even better ones on EDX that you don't even have to pay for. Um, Classes on IoT and the application behind it. Um, so with that being said, you can kind of take your experience with HVAC and apply it to those areas. A Raspberry Pi would actually help facilitate some of the development that you may run into, because Raspberry Pis are mostly test beds until you actually go full prod, which is production.
Yes.
And you can get a lot of things out of that, just from an experimental perspective. Um, once you have it, you just end up using it. You'll find some form of use for it. So Raspberry Pis are probably about $50, even, and you'll probably be able to find one of those locally. So I would, and those cookbooks are actually reference books. So
Yes, sir.
for development purposes. So um, don't
Yes.
try to read the whole thing. Pick out what it is that you're trying to do. See if that's applicable in the cookbook, or what we call a Bible, and then you just go kind of go from there. Let me get to some of these other questions.
I'm gonna
Oh,
mute up for a few minutes.
yeah, what's going on, Super Tris? Let me read these other questions. The True Light asks, how do I get into cybersecurity? Is there a traditional route of schooling or a trade type of program? I'm relatively new to the channel. So to answer your question, um, I got into cybersecurity because I had an IT background, and number two, I had an undergrad in information security, and I had several certifications prior to that. So it was a natural transition for me to get into cybersecurity at the time, because cybersecurity was like there was an explosion of job opportunities in that area, and it was in a direction I was going to go in the mid 2000s, anyways. So for me, it was that was my transition. I was already into IT on the opposite side of it, on the opposite side of IT ops. So how would you go into this traditional route of schooling or a trade type of program? I don't. I think you can go into a trade program if you already have an IT background, because it starts from a perspective where it assumes that you already have the prior experience of being in information technology. Whereas traditional schooling, the traditional schooling aspect is taking you from step zero all the way to you know um, step 12. You can
Now,
go
bro.
that route if you want to. It may cost you a little bit of bread, but I always think that traditional schooling, for people who don't have a broader network, that means Black people in general, and Black men in particular. If you don't have that broader network, a school school actually helps you build that sort of social network up because you're around other people who are of like mind.
Now, brother, if I may interject and add to what you're saying with a question, what's your opinion if that brother decides to go for the CompTIA Security Plus? And I mentioned that specifically because I know that yes, it's vendor neutral, but I believe, well, I don't believe, I know that they have a second an additional security. I think it's was it this three with CompTIA, this Security Plus, and I think the top is like CASP if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
So what do
certified.
you
Yeah, certified advanced security practitioner.
so what do you think about the brother or anybody else trying to at least get a toe in the door via those two certificates?
So you can't really certify your way into an office or into a job role. You certify as a benchmark, but you never really certify your way into a job role. You certify your way into an interview, because that's what's going to stand out to the to HR and the actual interviewer. Um, if you have it and the other candidate doesn't, then that's a one up for you. But you never get it as a way to get the job, because a lot of what's being um, a lot of what's on the certification itself really doesn't have much to do with what you're going to be doing on your daily operations. It's meant more for literacy. Do you know this aspect of security, and how would you apply it? Whereas what I do every single day, really, CompTIA hasn't really caught up with that. But they have come out with a new certification called the Cybersecurity um, Plus. I think that's what it is. Cybersec Plus or something like that. I forget the name of it. But that focuses on a lot of what I do, which is blue team work. I'm not a red team person at all. I can do red team work, but I'm just not in that area because we don't really need it. Our red team operations is external to us.
Okay.
Um, let me
I
read the other questions in the chat. Yeah, and any school would actually have a fairly fairly decent cybersecurity program, because they all follow um, 4011, which is the information assurance, information security uh, standard for academia. They're all the same. It's just a matter of who's teaching it. That's going to be the difference. Because whoever has experience in the field will be able to leverage their experience while they're teaching. Whereas a person who hasn't been in the field but only stuck in the academy are only going to be able to teach you so much outside of the book. All right, let me get to this next question. Encryption is where the real money is at in cybersecurity infosec. Um, I don't think that is totally accurate. But I won't argue with you. Yeah, having the true light, having a good strong IT background actually helps a lot because you know what you're securing and you know what you're defending. Um, if you don't even understand what you're defending and what you need to secure, you're gonna be deer in the headlights, and that's not fun. Um, I hate this stupid way YouTube.
Brother Mike, do you are you guys uh ever thought about launching like a Discord server?
That's been discussed in the past, but we spend 99% of our time over here, and I don't know how long we'll be doing that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we'll figure out something before the end of the year. But the direction that we're going into is going to be vastly different than anything else that's in the manosphere.
Okay. Okay.
Let me get to this next question. Yeah, what's going on, Complex? Yeah, Free Code Camp is it's actually fairly decent if you have time to sit down. Some people learn differently. You know, they'd rather be in a structured environment than a you know, in a one-on-one type of deal. You know, sometimes people just learn differently. So yeah, in order for you to get CISSP, you have to have the requirements. You have to meet the requirements, or else you won't get it. You won't have anything. And if you try to, even if you do pass the exam, you can't put that on your resume, or can you tell anybody that you do have it, because it violates the policies. Um, Let me see. Space Cowboy says, so this should be an easy grand slam. What is the point of getting IT certified if you can prove competent in other ways? It depends. Legacy organizations, when I say legacy, meaning those who are brick and mortar, they care about certifications because that's the sort of school of thought that they come from, right? So they're used to seeing people with Series 6, Series 7 certifications. They're used to seeing, you know, people with CPAs and AMLs, anti-money laundering certifications and stuff like that. Six Sigma black belt and green belts and yellow belts and stuff like that. They're used to seeing that, so they follow that sort of traditional model of certification. Whereas new startups and stuff like that, they may give some form of nod to it, but they don't actually require that you have it. Government always wants you to be certified because that's the sort of environment and game that they play. Hey, what's going on, Black Wizard?
I am back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, brother.
Okay.
Let me see some stuff that I messed up above.
Brother Mike, another question. Whenever you get the opportunity, what's your opinion, general opinion, on a computer engineering degree?
You can never go wrong with computer engineering degrees because they touch on different areas. I know some of the let me share my screen. Show you one of the local schools. I think Northeastern actually has a fairly decent computer engineering program as well. But let me see if I can go to Benjamin Franklin. Let me see. No, they don't even have it anymore.
Also, as you all come in, please hit the like button. Really do appreciate it. I want to say hello to everyone tuning in. Appreciate you all checking in as always.
All right, just give me a second. Let me share my screen real quick.
Mhm.
Oh, they've made so many changes to this stuff, man. So computer engineer can go a variety of ways. Usually, if you do computer engineering, you'll probably do a minor like in computer science. Uh, my so to answer your question, what do I think of it? I think you can use it in a variety of areas. Let me go to AMD's web page, actually let me go to let me go to AMD's site. Look at their career section so you can understand what comes with these sort of roles and responsibilities.
While you're pulling it up, I wanted to state that a few years ago, I went to an HVAC training seminar hosted by the manufacturer. As a matter of fact, it's funny because he was actually a white dude from, I think he was from Trinidad. If I'm not, I know he wasn't Jamaican, but he was Trinidad. Because I'm listening to the accent. I'm listening to the accent. I'm like, it's not a South African accent. And my mind is upside down. So when I find the accent, like, yeah, man, I just said, I'm Trini, full blown white, buttermilk, blue eyes, all that good stuff. But during the break, me being the youngest guy, I think I might have been the only brother over there. One of the older techs, I told him, yeah, I got my A+ in Network Plus certification. That me being a millennial, I'm pretty familiar with technology. I'm going to school for computer engineering. At least that's what I want to be when I grow up. And he told me, he said, Wilsonian or Reggie. He said, stay exactly where you are, because with the lead certification and everybody trying to go green, the name of the game, at least right now, as far as air conditioning, is all about efficiency, 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 efficiency. How we can cool this building or whatever product structure that you're currently servicing with the least amount of energy consumed as possible. And in addition to that, I'm no longer a member, but I'll go ahead and probably rejoin. I'm also a student member of ESHRA, the American Society of Heating and air conditionings, all that good stuff. So I would constantly receive monthly magazines, about what certain building contractors or mechanical contractors, how they basically saved X amount of money. Obviously, there's a lot of theoretical and abstract articles and pieces in that magazine as well. But it's when you read it, you can clearly see that again. It's all about the conservation of energy. That's the name of the game as far as HVAC is concerned.
Let me jump to this career page on AMD's website. And this is in their this is the engineering portion of their website. So where you would actually use a CE degree, a computer engineering degree. Um, let's look at SOC verification engineer. Mute yourself if you're not talking, please. All right, this one doesn't give a whole lot of experience. Let's see, verification engineer. Yeah, so here we go right here. So what a verification engineer does, or at least what they're looking for, the responsibilities are understand the design spec of a CPU, right? Develop test plan and writes tests to verify system property in IP level or SOC level, work with RTL designers and others to debug the failed tests, run verification related flows, and fix issues. Complete the verification target at each milestone. So they're working with Agile based on what I'm hearing right here. And the requirements are a master with 3+ years working with experience in ASIC areas. So ASIC is application specific integrated computing. And solid experience with simulation model creation and test bench. A bachelor's degree with at least 5+ years. So fairly familiar with Linux. A computer engineering background would work well with something like this. So you're talking, and none of these jobs are minimum wage. These are all 6-figure and up jobs. Let's see if I can find a couple more.
I know that the at least over here in Orlando, the Central Florida program, there's a certain concentrations. I know one of them for the CE program is embedded
Design.
computing. Yes, exactly. So that's. I think this is where the Adreno Raspberry Pi and fooling around with it could come into to significant use.
Well, it's a start. That would probably fall along the lines of what we call electronic technologists. So that's like the bare minimum at a trade school. You can go to a trade school. There's a lot of trade schools out there right now, or this actually I should rephrase that. Just a few trade schools out there right now that actually focus on computer electronic technologists or technology. And it's usually 1-year programs. So you got to look a little bit. You got to do your Googling and stuff, but that's where that starts at. And when you start talking about computer engineering, you're talking calculus, you're talking all types of requirements to actually just get into the program. So just having the Arduino and Raspberry Pi is like not even on the radar for that. Nowhere near on the radar. They start focusing on high level engineering aspects. All right, let me look at this real quick. This is the a role for a data center system and debug engineer. So specific job functions: drive system and silicon validation, characterization, and debug of existing and new microprocessor SOC products. Develop and drive detailed workflow for all development and validation through phase validation process. Assure that all responsibilities are clearly defined across the relevant and participating organizations. So what are the required skills? Ability to structure and execute complex analysis, draw insights, and communicate summary findings, recommendations to senior management, as well as AMD customers. Prior experience with server system design and validation. Prior experience with testing tools and environments, defect tracking, and revision control. Experience with computer architecture concepts and silicon features. Experience with Linux and Microsoft operating systems. So this is exactly what a computer engineer, a graduating computer engineer would actually get themselves into. You'll probably do an internship or some form of externship first, but this is exactly what they're looking for. Phase validation process. That type of stuff comes with electrical engineering. It says it right here. The candidate must have a bachelor's degree in science or a master's degree in science and electrical engineering and a minimum of 10 years of relevant work experience in a new product development from silicon design, platform design, or product engineering discipline. So to answer your question, Wilsonian, this is what computer engineers do. But I get your point about the having an Arduino and doing your own sort of garage, basement, attic style development. That's fine, but when you start talking about heavy computer engineering, electrical engineering, electronics engineering, this is the this is the nuts and bolts of it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Yep. Let me get to the there's a lot of comments coming in, I see now.
Mike. Hey, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Hey, just a quick question. What are your thoughts of computer science versus computer engineering?
Computer science is the soft stuff, and engineering is the hard stuff. Usually, if you do computer engineering, you usually do a minor in computer science. Computer science, if you take computer science as a major, you'll probably do something else as a minor, something like maybe cybersecurity, maybe what do you call that? What do you call that? Information technology management or something to that effect. Information systems management. There's always some form of minor that's encompassed with it. So I think what happens is that people who can't make it in computer engineering will eventually take computer science, and people who can take computer science usually have to take something additional to go with it, because computer science is by itself is not enough.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, I was a computer engineering major myself when I first got in undergrad, and I had more of an IT background than I did a engineering background. So I took my vocational credits and I went to enroll in a information security undergrad. So they don't mix up IT and computer engineering at all. Two different focuses from a discipline standpoint. I think people who do want to get into computer engineering, you gotta be prepared to do that math. That math is rigorous. It's no joke.
And while we're on the subject, I just want to say an adjunct for those that are that are in the healthcare field or thinking about the healthcare field, because I had a conversation with someone last night, and he was looking at getting into I don't know if it was computer science, computer engineering, or maybe it was information systems, whatever the case may be, something in the tech industry. But he was torn between that and nursing, because he is a phlebotomist at this point. And so I also brought forth the option of nursing informatics, which is a rising field in the healthcare continuum, and is basically dealing with you spoke earlier of ADIs. So basically
APIs.
So basically interfacing some of the different systems, platforms, and different facilities often use different platforms. So it's kind of a way for that information to communicate with each other, and then also the ability to extrapolate some of that data for various reasons for the end user. So that's something to think about as well. And also, nursing informatics is a master's program, so, and it has some stringent requirements for entry too.
My mic just dropped. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Okay. I missed the last few seconds of what Super Truth was saying.
Oh, I was just saying that the informatics, nursing informatics is a master's program with some pretty stringent requirements, but it is something to look into because it's quite lucrative, and there is a much higher demand than there is a supply.
Yeah, Yeah, and that's actually a good point you bring up, because all of this data that's being collected has to be um, driven through intelligence somehow. In artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, all of those skills, and emerging tech actually come into play for that. If you have that background, you will be highly sought after by major universities, major corporations, because uh, they need someone who's an SME in that area. Definitely need that. Let me go back to this chat. Black Quizit says, yeah, funny enough, they don't really care about the certs as far as getting you in. They normally allot an amount of time to get whatever after they hire you. That depends on the level of security clearance. If you're doing it for public clearance, then that might be one thing. But once you start going into secret and top secret, that becomes a different ball game. They want you to have it almost immediately. Government doesn't care about certs, but organizations care about certs. When you fill out the application, it tells you that almost specifically. I've seen people get rejected for jobs just because they didn't have the cert during the application process, because the application system actually disqualified them because the cert wasn't there. Yeah, Steve Technologies is hit the nail on the head. He says, I was on a government contract a few years back, and they required everyone to get CISSP. They let 6 people go before the agency decided to do a recompete. They gave them a year to pass. Yeah, that happens all the time, Steep Technologies. Guys are slacking off, thinking they can put it off, and they never take it. And then next thing you know, they're wondering why their badge doesn't work. They can't get in the building. EL asks a question. He says, I have a electrical engineering degree and work as a manufacturing engineer for a defense contractor and hate it. Any suggestion on how to get into Verilog VHDL and be proficient? Um, that's a tricky one, because usually that's something you adopt within an organization that you're already working for. So you might want to check if the manufacturing if the defense contractor that you're working for actually is attached to some of these yearly run seminars that does Verilog VHDL, and see if you can join on their dime. And then when you finish taking one of those seminars, you hit the exit, get the hell up out there as soon as possible. So that's the only advice I can give you on that. But I'm surprised as an electrical engineer, you're in a role that you're not happy with. It could just be the environment. I would definitely start looking at other opportunities. Yeah, they need to justify their H-1B visa request. This is what happens when you dumb down your native populations. Yeah, shout out to Dr. Phoenix. Thank you for posting that link. Yeah, the Space Cowboy, it's one thing to give that advice to Google it, but what happens here is if he doesn't have the experience in working with it's not, on the job, then that doesn't always help. But that's a good, it's a good suggestion, but in his field that can be a little bit complicated. Oh, Black Wizard works in top secret. I don't know. My experience in top secret is that They're very strict. First time I've ever seen the chat move like this before.
I mean,
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say to check in for you. I don't think it matters if they're approved by DHS or not, or NSA and DHS or not. Mostly because there are a lot of people who didn't even go to school for cybersecurity, and they can run circles around those who went to a school approved by DHS and NSA. So, what were you gonna say?
What's the note taking? I mean, change the conversation. But what's the note taking app for the Microsoft Home?
OneNote.
OneNote. That's right. That's right. Now with OneNote, what's the difference between OneNote and a Notepad plus plus, or are they the same thing?
Notepad plus plus is for coding, but
Mhm.
Microsoft OneNote is a shared note taking platform. So with Notepad plus plus, we dump our code into Notepad plus plus, and it structures it just the way that it should be structured for code reading, code analysis. Whereas Notepad plus plus, you kind of just tap in what you want. So if you're saying a grocery shopping list or something like that, that's what you would use Notepad plus plus for. I think now it's gotten better, and it could probably compete with Notepad plus plus. But for the most part, that's what we use Notepad plus plus for. And OneNote in the office, we use that for shared distribution. So if I have like an ongoing ticket that I'm working on, I take my notes from my ticket and I add it in Notepad plus plus, and I share it with my group or my team.
So Notepad plus plus is more of a code.
Yeah, it's for coders. It's
Okay, I see.
typically for coders, but I use it for everything personally because I just like the way how it's structured and how
And a Notepad is
it
just Notepad. Well, no, OneNote is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, OneNote's a Microsoft product. It's a
Right.
Microsoft product.
Yeah. Okay.
It usually comes with your system anyways.
Yeah, because I didn't know I never used it. I tend to like Notepad, but I just couldn't remember the name of it.
Notepad is an old product from Microsoft, though. It's really like from Windows 3.1 or something like that. That's not something you would use for typically code development, anything like that. I haven't used Notepad in well over 10 years.
Oh no.
I've always used Notepad plus plus or OneNote, Microsoft OneNote, because it's just a better platform. So going forward, I would definitely leave because what happens with Notepad plus plus, if you shut down your computer by accident or your computer shuts down by accident, Notepad won't save your information. They'll actually lose it.
Well, yeah, it does. It does. I just use Notepads for jotting down information,
Mm-hmm.
and there's been plenty of times that an update will come and shut down the computer, and I lost information. So yeah, I like when I'm reading stuff and just notes that I want to jot down. I tend to typically go to Notepad, but I want to transfer over to OneNote. I just can remember the name of the application.
Yeah, with OneNote, you can use the Microsoft Pen
Hmm.
um, from the Surface, and you can write into it, and it will read it.
Yeah, I want to answer Albert Bird. I have Visual Studio Code. I have that on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not for coding purposes, just for notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Black Wizard is actually I think he's a Linux engineer by trade. Yeah, I think he's a Linux engineer by trade. Yeah, you're right about that, Black Wizard. It is hard for people to get top secret with a poly. Right about that. Hey, what's going on, Conflictious? There's a I think if you're just now getting into IT, and this is just me thinking out loud, and projecting out. If you're trying to get into IT now, I would probably be more focused on emerging tech, autonomous vehicles, IoT, um, code development, or DevOps for that matter. Um, because trying to get into IT for the sake of working on supporting computers and stuff like that, that stuff is going away. Slowly but surely it's going away. By the time you finish college, it'll be a whole different market. I mean, people are still going to have laptops and stuff like that, but we're moving into in the enterprise. We're moving to a point where people have BYOD, bring your own device, and they download a VM, which is the virtual machine, to their computer, and then they just operate that way. Um, I know most hospitals haven't caught up with that because of HIPAA, but most non-healthcare organizations actually operates that way. Yeah, Black Wizard, AI, machine learning. Yep, reinforcement learning. Yeah, because trying to get into the traditional stuff, the legacy stuff, it's a no-go at this point. By after 2020, when companies make their big transition into the cloud, virtualization, that old stuff isn't going to matter anymore. I think writing code for apps is probably going to be way more important in terms of Android and iOS for Apple, and even for watches now in home appliances. Your refrigerators. You look at Samsung, look at LG, look at some of these other brands. Um, the amount of code that's going inside of a refrigerator is crazy right now. I mean, refrigerators are basically stand-up computers now. Yeah, blockchain too. Black Wizard. Yep. Lionel has a blockchain study group. You all should actually join that. The more participants, the better. Yeah, getting into the traditional stuff isn't going to matter. It's not. It's not going to be worth it. It's a waste of time, waste of money. Yeah, Albert, that's the way the market is going right now. They don't really need to buy computers anymore. You know how much money an organization spends on computers? You think about how much it costs to buy an Apple Mac. When an organization I used to work at, man, people were losing laptops every week. They left it inside of an Uber cab. They spilled beer on it. They dropped it off of their table, and their cat peed on it. It's always something that's going on with a corporate device because the users don't have to pay for it. If you're a corporation, you spent $3,000 on the MacBook Air or whatever it is, and you're losing those on a weekly basis. You lost $10,000 a month, and laptops and stuff like that, and trying to recover them in asset management. So companies are basically sticking it to people now, and saying if you lose this device, you have to pay for it. Well, if that's going to be the case, they don't always get discounts. Checking for you, they don't always get discounts. You have to remember that they're buying wholesale anyway, so they're not paying retail prices, but they still have to pay for it. If they have to pay for a warranty, they have to pay for a warranty. That's the nature of it. Yeah, everybody has a computer at home anyway, so why not just bring your own computer to work? Jr. Andre asks, should I still take the cybersecurity boot camp in November? Then yeah, you should take it. If it's free, yeah, you should take it. The thing about boot camps is that it shoves it shoves a lot of information down your throat in a short amount of time. It's like watching people eat those hot dogs in a hot dog eating contest.
I know you said the boot camp. You mentioned this one day with the boot camp. If you already are familiar with the information,
Mhm.
then a lot of the stuff that they're shoving down your throat, you already know, and you don't have to intake. You just
Mhm.
get what you already know. Well, don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, because boot camps are meant to upskill you as soon as possible, just before your exam, or just before your transition. Oh, it's $11,000 for what? A weekly boot camp or a monthly boot camp? It's a lot of money, dude.
That's
I could,
that is a lot of money.
yeah, I could buy a whole lot of Ethereum with that.
Ooh, the price is down too.
Yeah, but we are not certified financial planners. You want a certified financial planner, go to CFP.net. We don't
Okay.
recommend or give financial advice here.
Speak to CFP, then I gotta put that into my get the link. But anyway, yeah, these new technologies are, might as well get in on the ground floor, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't play catch up with any of this stuff. You got to get ahead of the curve. And I think autonomous vehicles are probably the most explosive right now. When I say autonomous vehicles, you're talking the artificial intelligence, the deep learning, um, the turning of the wrench of an autonomous vehicle too, right? So somebody has to put the parts inside that vehicle. Let's look at Tesla's website. Let's look at Tesla. See what their career is, and we'll go to Lyft too. Yeah, I don't know why more brothers aren't getting into healthcare, man. Wide open field. But I think Dr. Phoenix has discussed before that a lot of black people are not prepared, for some of the requirements to get in.
Yeah, my problem is that um it was easier for me to be to work for the NASA. I mean, granted, it was through a temp agency, but it was easy for me to work uh, at the Kennedy Space Center than it was for me to do labor work, sheet metal at a
Mhm.
hospital because, like I said, I made my mistakes, but when it comes to healthcare, they do not play under any circumstance. And the crazy part is, it wasn't for my felony; it was for my misdemeanor. The problem is because since there were two separate cases under Florida law, I can't get neither of them expunged. So, I don't know if I'm asked as far as healthcare is concerned, but me, I don't even waste my time because I
I
because
find I find that interesting because they were just talking about about 9 months ago about letting people out who serve time in jail have the ability to vote. Wh- wh- You know, I, Florida's a special kind of case, I guess. Kind of people.
what I if you're not just because you go to jail, as you know, it doesn't mean that you're. And for my legal brothers, they know doesn't mean that you were adjudicated for a felony charge, because you could have simply withheld adjudication. And even if you were adjudicated, if you were a convicted felon, you still have the option of obtaining your what they call your not your civil rights. Um, I think it is your civil rights, but
It's a civil right. It's a case. It's an issue of civil rights. It is because up here we had the same issue, and they allow people to have their records expunged now. So
I
any
don't.
private organization cannot look at your record. It just says NA not available. But the
Yeah,
government, yeah.
yeah. Is it civil rights? I think it's that's not the proper term, but you can get them if you I don't know if you simply have to write a letter, or if there's a process that you have to go through. But once you get them restored, um voting and I believe the option to apply for your concealed your concealed will then be reopened to you. Is it civil rights?
Let me get to this real quick. So this is Tesla's career site right here. And what I was saying before about automation, autonomous vehicles. This is one of the roles. So automation engineer, LV systems and power management. A BS degree in electrical, computer, or mechanical engineering or equivalent required. Experience with Python, experience with troubleshooting and debugging, experience with following circuit diagrams, test automation, Jenkins and Git, experience with lead acid batteries, charging and safety a plus. Um, so this is the type of stuff that they're looking for. This is Tesla. Full stack developers. Software engineering, validation and infrastructure charging. Battery algorithms engineer. Interesting. I don't know what that encompasses. A master's degree or a PhD in mechanical, electrical, aerospace, or materials engineering. Yeah, this is this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. This sort of emerging tech in areas that are going to be around the next 100 years. I say 100 because I don't foresee drone-based vehicles being cheap anytime soon for people to climb inside and just fly off somewhere. I mean, most people can't afford a car right now. I can't imagine what a drone is going to cost you. Yeah, there's hundreds of jobs on here, but that's just a glimpse of what. Yeah, let me see. Lyft careers. Autonomous vehicle compute engineer, integration engineer, high performance computing engineer, a lot of software engineer roles. There's a whole lot of them. Let's go to the one up top, which is autonomous vehicle compute engineer. Responsibilities include partner with the software and hardware teams to architect high performance autonomous vehicle computing systems that meet safety and performance goals, guide large programs forward by facilitating conversations with vendors, suppliers, and coworkers, design and develop radar, image processing, or similar digital signal processing applications. Experience, master's degree or higher in electrical engineering, computer science, physics, or related field. Knowledge of robotic or automotive perception requirements, design, and testing. Experience shipping hardware and software products. Nice to have. C, C++ skills and embedded real-time environment. Experience with autonomous vehicle applications. This is, example of what's going on. That role will probably sit there for the next year and a half until they can actually fill it, unless they can outsource it somewhere. So master's degree is what they're talking about. This isn't the first time we've seen this tonight. A&D site, they were talking about master's degrees. I mean, we've talked about Udacity before. Let me go to Intel site as a final site for tonight. What is this? What is this? That's not it. What the fuck is this? Let me check the chat. Keep people waiting.
Oh, I want to say, a lot of times I'll go to YouTube and look at a few videos to supplement my learning, not to get my master's degree on YouTube, but just supplement my learning. If there's something that I'm confused about, then I'm pretty sure there's people who niche. When I say niche, their whole channel is about one particular subject,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have my supplemental learning on that. Well, I'll supplement my learning by looking at videos.
Conflicture says, have any of you guys have thoughts about the next version of Windows? Will it be 11 or will they skip a number? That's an interesting question, because I think Microsoft's goal is to go completely cloud-based. Although that's proven to be a bit of a challenge, because they don't really have the infrastructure to really carry something like that out, and it'll be quite expensive too, unless they can figure out a way to have just the bare minimum OS on the a bootloader on every machine, and then deliver the OS over the cloud. That would probably be their strategy. But what would it be called? I don't know. They may go away from the numbers perspective. They may start naming it like Apple does, and Google does. Yeah, I agree with Black Wizard. I don't know any boot camp that's worth 11,000 unless they saving you a seat at a corporation. Some boot camps are doing that now. They're getting them internships after they graduate, so that they guarantee them a job. Yeah, EL says they are really hurting for people with knowledge in machine learning and artificial intelligence. My company is paying employees $10,000 for referrals of capable people. They're just not teaching it in the universities. That's what the problem is.
What subject is that again?
There's a lot of noise coming in your background, brother. I can't understand it.
I was asking what subject did he say about referrals?
Machine learning,
Ah,
artificial intelligence. Yeah, Microsoft wants to go cloud. Just like Google wants to go 100% cloud with the next version of Chrome OS. They want to go cloud with that. So everybody's moving to the cloud. Even Apple is moving in that direction as well. You'll probably see iOS go away and emergence between the desktop Mac operating system and iOS itself.
What do you think about? I think it's Cloud Plus from CompTIA, or do you think that
I have that. You use Cloud Plus from CompTIA if you're trying to upskill. So upskill means you're trying to move up in terms of that skill set, a particular skill set. And Cloud Plus is the next step beyond Server Plus. It's a bit aged and dated now, because AWS has their own entry level cloud cert, and so does Microsoft. So I got mines when they didn't. Microsoft didn't have any certs for Azure yet. So I went with that, and I was contemplating about going AWS. I did take the AWS class. I just never went and got my cert. So I don't work in AWS anymore, so it doesn't really matter to me. And plus, the conversation I had this morning is that Africa as a whole is not even looking at Amazon like that. They're focusing on open source cloud. They got a lot of people over there with a lot of time and a lot of ambition, and they're writing code. So that's why I tell we've been having this conversation for over a year now, and Africans are moving way faster than Black Americans are, way faster.
then allow me to ask this one last question for the time being.
Yep.
How do you think that's going to factor into the supposed population boom that Africa is said to experience up to? What do you think? Or that's
Your mic is breaking up a lot.
Hey, I'm gonna jump off. I'm starting to doze off.
All right, have a good one, brother.
All right, I'll go.
too, brother. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm asking, I guess, for your opinion. How do you think that's going to factor in with Africa supposedly not supposedly, but again, having this population boom in demographics up to 2100? How do you think with the technology and with technological advancement and knowledge being democratized, how do you think that's going to go and factor in with Africa's population boom, for better, for worse, or for indifferent?
Well, Africa's bread and butter.
Your conjecture.
Yeah. Africa's bread and butter is going to be beyond its resources in the ground. I mean, you can monopolize the resources in the ground and fight over that, but what happens? You're going to need that human capital, and that's what they're going to have to focus on developing. We covered some articles a couple weeks ago talking about healthcare and healthcare professionals in Africa, and how African universities are struggling uh, to keep up because they don't have the infrastructure available to accommodate some of the emerging tech that goes with it. Some of these universities don't have enough computers, or they just don't have computers at all. So that plays a significant role. But um, once they cultivate a lot of that stuff, the people who do go to Europe and America and other places to study, and then they come back and they dump that knowledge back into the continent. Um, the development of all of those human resources is going to be um, critical for them going forward, because they have to compete um, through a practice of human development. That's how India survives. India has 1 billion people within the subcontinent itself, man, and just about everybody has a very very strong background in STEM, which is how they've been making a lot of their money. But in terms of a nation state, but when it comes to the continent, they're going to have to develop all of those people at some point. So going beyond just basic levels of education is going to be pivotal for them. They're going to have to start focusing on uh, the STEM at the early age and not at the later age. Their problem is they focus on STEM as post-secondary education rather than focusing on STEM at the grade school level. If that answers your question.
Yes, it does. It does. It does. I got more to add, but I don't want to evolve, get off topic. So
No, that's fine. We're going to close out at 10:30 anyways, but I'm just going through the chat right now. Checking for you says Africans are moving faster than Americans, not just Black Americans. Well, Black Americans in particular, because that's the base point, that's the reference point when you're talking about melanated people. Um, Pale-faced people, mayonnaise people don't really matter because they weren't concerned about the melanated people here, so no one should care about what happens to them in that regard. Um,
ditto.
but yeah, people should really focus on Udacity. I think you can get a lot of utility out of Udacity if you focus on what it is that you're trying to do. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Brother, mute yourself. There's a lot of feedback coming from you.
Udacity, I actually bought a course, I think in pre-cal, trying to test in to to at least pre-cal, so I don't have to take all the subsequent math classes for it. So yeah, I can vouch for Udacity.
All right, this is Udacity's website. They do have 10% off right now for nano degree program. And the programs they have is School of Data Science, School of Artificial Intelligence, School of Programming, School of Autonomous Systems, and School of Cloud Computing. One-on-one technical mentors, flexible learning programs, and personal career coach and career services, real-world projects from industry experts. Um, Java developer, AI product manager, cloud DevOps engineer, cloud developer, self-driving car, and machine learning engineer. So these are some of the things that This is interesting. This brother right here says, before Udacity, I was working 2 minimum wage jobs. Now I have a new job and a new mindset and a new life. Um, interesting. We've covered people like this before, but interesting commentary. Let's look at autonomous systems real quick. The field of autonomous vehicles is set to grow by 42% within the next 4 years, with salaries for top engineers averaging between $300,000 to $500,000. Advance your career in a rewarding field by studying 15 hours a week. Yeah, I said this earlier. I think that's where a lot of you guys should actually be focusing on, rather than trying to get into IT and fix someone's computer. I think that stuff is the way of the dodo bird, personally. But we're gonna have a hangout on that Saturday. What the hell just happened to me? Drop this in here.
300 grand, golly. But I'm under the thought that, I mean, again, it said top, but wouldn't that be like a director or an architect of a certain division?
No, it's just a matter of supply and demand. It's not uncommon. I talked about that before on here. I know brothers who are making 400,000 as as architects and whatnot.
Are you familiar? And excuse me if you already answered it. Are you familiar with enterprise architecture?
What about EA?
I mean, that's something, I never really understood what EA is in, I guess, in theory. I don't know if you could be, if you would so kind of break it down for.
Well, EA is enterprise architecture is just how one actually designs the environment for the business needs of that organization. I think at one point it was a pretty well focused skill set to have, maybe back like in the mid 2000s and stuff like that. That made a lot of sense. But I think now, because companies are moving into the cloud and all the startups and whatnot, they're really not a whole lot of demand for EA anymore. Just knowing it is mostly good enough. But I know there's a certification like TOGAF that focuses on EA, but I don't see too many people pushing TOGAF anymore, at least not at this point. Let me see. Dr. Phoenix posted engineering and applied science from University of Milwaukee. Yeah, this is good stuff, Dr. Phoenix.
Familiar with the engineer's degree? I believe Stanford and MIT have it. It's supposed to be like a terminal degree, higher than a master's, but since there's no thesis, it's obviously not a PhD program.
What is it? What is it called?
An engineer's degree.
Yeah. I've heard of it. MIT seems to be one of the only institutions pushing it. because you know you have to remember that they cater to a niche, and that's what that's what they focus on. They can get away with something like that because they're so big. I'm just sharing my screen right now with Dr. Phoenix's link, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, engineering and applied science. Biomedical and health informatics is a growing field that combines medical science and information technology. Its applications include EMRs, electronic medical records, access to knowledge-based information, and digital libraries, digital imaging systems, telemedicine, clinical design, decision support, and health policy. Telemedicine is actually something that's almost exclusive right now because it's so recent. But the fact that they're teaching it is a sign that they're keeping up with the times. You can't say that about too many community colleges. Community colleges are very dependent upon federal funding because, or state funding, I should say, because that's how, you know, they're a public institution. And what's happened the last 10 to 12 years is that funding for community colleges has been cut because the enrollment has been low because people just aren't going to community colleges anymore. They go somewhere else. What would be the point? If they can go to DeVry or University of Phoenix, they don't need to go there. Dr. Phoenix, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. Well, good evening to the panel. Yeah, the brother Super Trez, shout out to him. He actually brought up a very, you know, not, I guess unless you're in the nursing field or you're in healthcare in general, you don't really hear about nursing informaticists like that, but it's very popular, or at least it's growing in popularity because, you know, many nurses did a number of years at the bedside, and so you kind of get burned out, or you want to do something different, and you move away from the clinical side of things, and you want to move more towards management, leadership, or even the IT world, which is where a lot of nurses and physicians as well are headed in that direction, because you know you just get burned out after years of seeing patients or whatever. But he was absolutely correct in stating that the demand far exceeds the actual supply. And I know where I'm at here in Wisconsin. I mean, there's three major health systems here. One of them was just brought out by Advocate Health. So they were at the time this health system was brought out, they were considered the largest in the southeast Wisconsin area, but they were brought out by Advocate Health, and so now they're merging, and so now you have this whole Wisconsin, Chicago area, and the market is just wide open for IT and informatics specifically. And so I mean, he pointed out a very good deal, and also too where I'm at as well. Nurse informaticists are starting out at around $100,000 from what I've been told. So I mean, this is just starting salaries. I've heard they go. I hear they can go quite a bit higher than that. But I at least where I'm at, I've been told that they're starting out at around $100,000. So very good area. But as Super Trez noted, you do need a master's in this program. This particular link I put up is actually biomedical and health informatics PhD. This is for any brothers who are interested in healthcare. And maybe maybe you might want to think about going to nursing school, because I think nursing is a good place to start. Gives you a very good foundation, but also too, it's very versatile. So you tend to find folks who are nurses who moved into all kinds of fields. Microsoft hires a lot of nurses. A lot of folks don't know that.
Because Microsoft is getting to healthcare.
Yeah, they hire a lot of nurses. They have a chief nursing officer. She was at South by Southwest earlier this year, did a presentation. There's another nurse that I'm familiar with. She's a psychiatric mental health nurse. She does work in their UX program, so she does a lot of research design stuff. So yep. I mean, the field is wide open, especially for folks in healthcare. And the reason why healthcare is such a big thing is because, especially for nurses in particular, is because you have a clinical background. you come with a special it factor a lot of folks don't have. You have a very good in-depth knowledge of health systems and of clinical background disease processes, medications, EMRs, and the applications of EMRs within that. Because one of the things that Microsoft is doing, and the reason they're working with nurses, that they're looking at developing AI around embedding AI, into EMRs. And so, these are just all areas. But going back to that link I put up, this is a very interesting program because it was something that I myself was interested in as well. Because for me, I was interested in going down either the translational track, or there's 5 different tracks if you see on the screen that you can go down. I was interested in the translational or the medical, what was it called? Imaging and instrumentation. So you can design imaging systems like the MRIs and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yep.
you design a lot of the software and stuff for that. A lot of different medical equipment and stuff like that. So I mean, these are very lucrative careers, and having a clinical background as a nurse, specifically. And the reason I say nurse because, Super Triz talked about it the last mentorship panel we were on last week. He started out as an ADN, and right now,
What's the ADN? Remind people what
associate,
ADN is.
yeah, associate degree in nursing. And so you typically get those at your community colleges, or you can get them at your 2-year technical schools for some of them. But the good thing about going that route, I didn't go that route, but the good thing about going that route is that if you get hired, you can get your employer to pay for you to get the BSN. And the BSN is the goose that laid the golden egg, because once you get your BSN, you can do anything. So I mean, and there's not gonna, and as black men, as black males, I mean, they're literally dying to get you in there. I mean, I would say you have a better chance of getting these programs as a black male than you do as a black female. So if you get in these programs, you do like you do 2-3 years of bedside nursing, and then you think you want to move into other arenas, is wide open for you. They hire nurses all the time, and pharmaceutical companies hire them, biotech companies hire them.
Yeah, our company has them too.
Yeah, so I mean, the FDA hires them. I mean, I know nurses that work at the FDA, that work in pharmacovigilance, work in pharmacogenetics and genomics. I mean, they're everywhere. You don't know it, but they're everywhere. I mean, they're pretty much everywhere because the field is just really versatile. You kind of cover a gamut of things, not just healthcare sciences and, biological principles and stuff like that, but you're covering social sciences. You're covering information technology. I took part of my BSN program when I went through it. We took a couple very basic IT courses. I mean, they were pretty basic, but again, there is a very strong push within the nursing world to create more nursing informaticists, folks that can deal with big data, folks that are data scientists. A huge push, especially if you're looking at, you thinking, for any of the brothers that want to go in the industry, because a lot of what happens in industry is not just sort of these applied, these very real world applications of it, but a lot of it is research, R&D. So I mean, the nursing is a very good foundation to get your foot in those doors.
Yeah, Apple is actually moving into the healthcare arena. So there's behind the scenes, there's they're ramping up big time. So they're leveraging the Apple Watch for a variety of things, collecting data and processing and things of that nature.
Yeah, even Samsung has been doing it for a while, but they've kind of followed behind Apple. Now their new Galaxy Watch that's being released, I think next month or something like that, has a built-in EKG like the Apple Watch, like the current Apple Watch. And
yeah.
So they've been I think Samsung has partnered up with, I want to say, UCLA.
Yep.
for a few years now, just doing basic biometric data, getting your pulse and stuff like that, your heart rate and all that stuff, because they're using this as part of a larger way to kind of get a good measure of what the average, for example, blood pressure is for Americans, because these are these are, obviously hypertension is a major problem in this country, especially among Black folks. But again, these are areas of opportunity for brothers who were interested in healthcare. Now, unlike tech, healthcare is pretty stringent to get into. I'm not gonna kid you about that. I mean, it's pretty stringent. I mean, you have to be able to do the basic sciences. A lot of people don't give nursing a lot of the credit that they do, but you have to take about 70 to 80% of the courses you would need for medical school. You also need them for nursing school as well. Nursing kind of do a bit more, also kind of dabbles a bit more into the social sciences as well. So it's a bit more well-rounded as opposed to medical, as opposed to medicine, if you will. But again, it's a great foundation for brothers who are looking, to get a really good clinical background, get a good clinical foundation, and then take those skills and that knowledge and apply it to just about anything.
Right. Right. And that's where that program that you listed from University of Milwaukee is kind of focusing on. I was at a cloud healthcare event last month, in very deep dialogue, man, on healthcare in the cloud and how risky it is. And you're hearing about these companies every single week losing their data, data breach here, loss of system functionality there, ransomware being injected into their environments and things of that nature. That's where we come in from cybersecurity perspective, but also from a healthcare advisory perspective. That's where you have your nurses come in and kind of your RNs come in and basically consult, make a lot of money consulting in that area and say, hey, this is the way it should be
Yeah, I mean, there's a
healthcare
big
professional.
time. I mean, there's a big time industry for just nurse consultants. I mean, consulting in just about everything, design of hospitals, designing of clinics. I mean, there's no one that knows a hospital better than a nurse. Nurses know pretty much everything. Just dealing with just consulting with architects. When you're dealing with the ergonomics of building ICUs, for example, building rooms, building exam rooms within clinics, or building rooms, or patient rooms in hospitals. So I mean, again, there's a lot of things you can move into once you have that clinical background. Again, like I say, it's not quite as streamlined, if you will, as you can get some certificates here, you can do you can do a degree there, you can jump into it. No, it's a bit more. There's a few more hoops, and you do. I think I don't know if the brother's still on the panel here, but he talked about it earlier. You do have to have a clean nose to get into the clinical side of things. You really
Yep.
do. You can't really have felonies. You can't. I'm sorry, I'm near an airport here. Um, yeah, you can't really have felonies. I do. I am aware there are some nurses out there that have gotten felonies, but it kind of really depends. It's kind of a case by case that have gotten in. I'm not too sure about that, but if you got anything drug related, no, I can tell you that right. I can tell you anything drug related. That's a no go. Especially where you're dealing with medications, drugs all day, every day. That's just a no go, and certainly within these fields, you know, they're just you always have to be cognizant of protecting your license. I mean, there's there's you can get your license snatched for just about for a little thing. So,
Yeah,
always
absolutely.
be cognizant of that.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, Fitbit as well. See, Apple really pushed the envelope to the FDA on their devices being approved by the FDA for use in health and in the healthcare field because it was so much accurate, so much more accurate than the rest of them. We covered an article a few weeks ago about people with melanated skin having their heart rates readings being completely off because of the color of their skin, because the reader could not penetrate detect the color of the skin on the person wearing it. Um, So you do have some form of digital racism, inadvertent because of the design of the technology or just because of the implementation. Um, but that's an oversight, for lack of a better description. It's an oversight because people just did not do the testing on melanated people. Nobody really thought about that. So you see Fitbit, you see Samsung, you see Apple, and Garmin as well. Garmin getting involved in the whole medical device arena. Apple's not going to stop at a wearable. They're going to stop focusing on pacemakers and stuff like that. Guaranteed, they're going after that.
No, I agree with that. I mean, Apple themselves, they're partnered with the American Heart Association, as well as the American Academy of Cardiologists. So I mean, they're partnering with they're partnering with physician groups and with professional physician organizations, as well as the American Heart Association, to to get that to get that technology, and to be able to propagate a lot of that technology. I believe, if I remember correctly, when they announced the Apple Watch last year, theirs was the first device to have an EKG built into it that was FDA approved, if I remember correctly. So, again, this is one of these areas, just listen, looking at some of the chat, this is about brothers getting ahead of the game. What I'm talking about now, there's not a whole lot of folks out here doing this. There really isn't. So this stuff is wide open for you. I mean, the brother Super Triz talked about it earlier. I mean, I couldn't agree more. This stuff is wide open for brothers.
Yeah.
Again, it just comes down to, get these courses done, get into these programs, make it do what it do. It just, I'm not going to tell you that these things are easy, because they're not. But again, you can make this whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I think that maybe doing a minor in or doing a master's in information systems or information technology can actually be beneficial. But now you're starting to see these sort of nano degree programs from Udacity, EDX, is starting to offer master's degree programs at a tenth of the price, a fraction of the price, in comparison to brick and mortar schools. I know Georgia Tech has a computer science degree for their master's program, cybersecurity as well.
Yeah, I actually know someone that's currently doing a PhD at Georgia Tech, so and actually in electrical engineering. So
yeah.
I do know someone work at Georgia Tech right now. And it's important because, especially in the field of healthcare, and what you're finding is that clinicians, across the board, many of them are looking into tech. They're getting. I knew there were students in my program. Some of them already had degrees in IT.
Right.
There were folks, they were looking at combining that with nursing and, just kind of making a career with it, whatever, making the kind of career you want to make. But I mean, nowadays especially in the near future, is not going to be uncommon for folks who are going into nursing or medicine to have, minors in computer science or minors in IT. Typically a lot of folks, they do pick up minor, they might pick up a minor in biochemistry or something like that. I don't really recommend that. I think if you're going to pick up a minor in anything, it should be computer science or IT, personally. That would be my personal suggestion to brothers, especially if you're in healthcare, because I mean, that comes at a premium. You're a clinician with programming skills, and you can speak another language or two. I mean, you can write your own damn check. And the fact is that the reason I put up this PhD program, you have less than 1% of all nurses who have doctorate degrees. Most nurses out here don't have doctorates. And if you can get a PhD, I've had this told me many a times, you can get a doctorate degree as a nurse, man, you can write your own damn check.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are just, again, like I said, these aren't necessarily sexy pathways to take, but, they will pay off in the end. just a little, investment in yourself, and it will pay off over the long term.
Yeah, don't try to make it a hustle. You got to be really dedicated and focused on some of these programs. I see people trying to do
You sound a
live
little low,
stream.
brother.
You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I know that some people want to jump in and try to do various other things at the same time, and it's like, yeah, you can't be in school for medicine and do live streams all day long and whatnot. So you got to be focused on that. I didn't go to school for nursing or healthcare, but I went to school for information technology, and I can tell you I didn't have a whole lot of time to be online playing around, doing live streams and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not even that you just have to be in school, whether you're nursing or medicine, whatever. Just in school in general, man. If you're really trying to get the grades you need, you're really trying to make those connections, and in the industry that you're going into. I mean, you're not gonna have the time, maybe late in the evening like now or something, but as a whole, no, you're just not gonna have time. I mean, I it was ironic, when I was in nursing school, I for me, I worked, I did research. I did a lot of basic science research with my physiology professor. So I got certifications in animal rat models and stuff like that, so I can do research with rat models. So I was doing stuff like inducing diabetic wounds in mice and anesthetizing them. So I got a lot of good experience out of it. Was getting paid for it too, but I was able to do a lot of basic research, getting paid. I had internships. I talked about before. I was a McNair scholar as well. So I did a lot of those things concurrently, and I never took a summer break. Never took a summer break, and that is the difference. When you focused and you want to get it done, yeah. I mean, you just grind it out. It only took me 2 years to get in that program and get the hell out of it. I mean, again, granted, I already had a degree and all that stuff, but I got in and got out, man. But that's just how it is. You got to be focused. I was taking 9 credit hours in the summer. Full time in the summer is 6 credit hours. I was taking 9.
Right.
So, on top of doing research and working in labs and doing all other kinds of crazy stuff, but again, that is just an example of just how focused and how disciplined you have to be, to be successful in these fields. And it doesn't matter whether it's healthcare, nursing. I mean, IT is not a difficult thing. I've never been a tech. I've never been a tech person, but over the last 2 or 3 years, I really got kind of started to get more interested and involved in it, because simply when I started doing research, I started meeting folks that were geneticists and meeting folks from the NIH and working on NIH funded grants and stuff like that. And I'm saying, like, yeah, there's a huge need for folks, especially folks who have skills in Python and R. Obviously, you guys were talking about that a few days ago, how they're pretty much brother and sister. You can't do one without the other, and so again, there's a huge need for this within the healthcare arena, as well as cloud computing, because I do know for a fact that the NIH is partnered with Google, and Google has helped building out some of those cloud services that the NIH needs to to tabulate a lot of all that data that they have. And that is why healthcare is the gold mine that it is, and everyone's jumping into it. You got a bunch of data and nobody doesn't know what to do with it. So the person that figures out what to do with it, they're going to be in a very good position.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing. Every other piece of data, or all these people, companies are paying millions, if not close to billions of dollars to get hold of all of this data that is being collected, because how else do you target your audience, or how else do you understand your audience? You can have predictive um, applications based on the data that is being collected, and what we call data lakes. Data goes um, into a pool of a pooled area, and then it gets extrapolated out through the machine learning process and through the artificial intelligence, which gets massages the data and processes it for whatever application that it needs to go into. So there's a whole lot that comes out of all of this, data science, computer information systems, computer engineering. This is a variety of areas that you need to be getting yourself into, and not focus on the legacy stuff. The legacy stuff is will be gone after 2020. So it makes no sense to go into that. But
I mean, you're absolutely correct, brother. I mean, these are, I cannot stress enough, just how, healthcare is wide open for brothers. I mean, especially nursing. I mean, they're dying so hard just to get more men into nursing. We're talking about a field that's like, 90% female. Men only make up 10% of nurses. But men do tend to, even though men make up 10% of nurses, they are regular. they tend to make more money as nurses than even female nurses. And part of it is because what typically the areas men tend to go in as nurses and stuff like that. But again, these are wide open areas for brothers. And, there are a lot of there's a lot of ways you can practically get a BSN for free if you do it right. Get your ADN, go to community college, get you an ADN. Now, they are pretty competitive programs because you get a lot of folks that already got bachelor's degrees that are running back like crazy to community colleges to try to get into these nursing programs. But yeah, I mean, you can get into a nursing program at a community college, get your ADN, come out, get your first job, let them pay for you to get a bachelor's degree. They will, let that job pay for you to get a bachelor's degree while you're getting that work, while you're working at the same time. And then once you're done with that, man, you get the bachelor's degree, you already got your RN license. So, you can do whatever you want after that, man. And so it's just one of those deals where yeah, once you get that bachelor's degree in nursing, man, there is nothing you can't do. I mean, people will be beating down your door. Hell, you'll be amazed at some of the grad programs that be knocking at my door. So I get emails all the time, brother. So I mean, it's just one of those things. As a brother, when you get into these these fields, especially where there's very, very few of us. I mean, you're always gonna be the hot commodity.
Yeah, black men are a hot commodity in a lot of these vertical markets. So, all right, thank you all for joining us, man. Hit the like button if you have not already done so. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those on the community page. Make sure you check the community page out once a week. We're posting things on there. And with that being said, we are gone. Shalom.